Well, look at that guy in the middle there. Mark Cuban ended up getting that front row seat. But how he got it is a little bit different from some of the stories you're hearing. He told me last night in the spin room.
I wanted to bring my 12-year-old, turning 13-year-old daughter. It was her birthday yesterday. And so I was able to get 2 tickets from the campaign to just come. And so I tweeted that I was going to be there, but I decided to add. I didn't have front row ticket. I decided to add front row ticket. I'll be there front row, thinking it might kind of upset Donald. He took the bait. Hook, line, and sinker.
But you did have front row.
No, I didn't.
At the time
I didn't. I didn't. And so it turned into such a crazy scenario that they were like, okay, now we're going to give you front row just to see what happens.
No. But just to be fair, he, you know, if the idea was to psych him out or whatever it was, it didn't affect him.
No, of course not. And I didn't try. Look, I wasn't trying to make eye contact with him.
Did you?
No, I think one time.
Did he see you?
I don't know. I think because I was more looking at Rudy Giuliani and the Trump family. I was more curious about their responses and their reactions because, look, I knew people would be paying attention.
Who was sitting next to you? Like, who was in your row?
A woman by the name of Maxine, who just has a great story that has been has inspired Secretary Clinton, and then Donna Brazile and Vernon Jordan, and then the Clinton family.
All right. So, are you a Democrat?
No. I'm an independent.
So why did you, because in the beginning we would talk when Donald Trump was first toying with the idea, you said favorable things about
it. I was very supportive.
So when did you guys have problems?
After he got the Republican nomination, it got to the point where I was like, okay, now you got to start learning these things. You have to start understanding policy. You have to understand all these different issues because that's what comes with the job. And you know, when that was not of interest to him, that's when I started doing my homework on Secretary.
Well, how do you know that wasn't of interest?
I was just talking to him, asking him questions, like, you know, before one of an event, just say, what do you think about this? And it just wasn't of interest to him.
You know, it's interesting, depending on who you talk to, Mark. If you're a Republican, you think Donald Trump did well. You're a Democrat, you think she did well. She was very much immersed in the issues. But Republicans said, wait a minute, she got a pass because Lester Holt interrupted and fact-checked Donald Trump a lot more than he did her.
Maybe he did, and I think part of that, you know, it's like in basketball, right? When you play hard, you kind of get the calls from the refs, and I think she showed a very good understanding and depth of all the issues, and she directly answered his questions. Donald Trump didn't answer the questions. He deflected. We're still waiting for a response from him on what he would do about domestic terrorism and lone wolves. He didn't answer the question.
Do you think he was much more comfortable, maybe, as is his business background, on business and economic questions? I thought when he was talking about the markets and the Federal Reserve and low interest rates and creating a bubble, he was very comfortable in that. Less so when it veered outside that.
I don't think it was so much that, Neil. I think, you know, he's a self-described counterpuncher. And when you're throwing counterpunches and they land, your confidence grows. When they don't land, you kind of get flustered. And he got a little bit flustered when...
But was she almost, you know, too exacting and too traditional?
Think about what you just said. Right, we're talking about 2 candidates for the President of the United States. They were asked a specific question. How can you be too exacting? They were given a time limit.
Well, let me tell you this. There were a lot of people who listened to the Kennedy-Nixon debates who said Nixon won because he was more detail-oriented and got his facts right. But on other issues, Kennedy seemed to reach for the heart. Now, I'm not comparing that at all. All I am saying is that, do you think that his pitch to reach out to frustrated people resonated in a way that this audience here, or media, traditional media, the way we score debates, might not?
No, and that's a fair point, right? So if you were already pretty much a Donald Trump fan, I'm sure you thought he did okay. If you were already a Hillary Trump fan, I'm sure you thought she did great. If you were on the fence and you were more...
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Did it move anyone on the fence?
I think it did. I think because she was very presidential. She was calm, cool, collected. She dealt with the issues, and she baited him, and he took the bait multiple times. You know, she set him up with a question about not paying your vendors, and we have the architect here, and then she came full circle.
But he did answer it. I'm sure you've had it, but sometimes where I didn't pay if they did a lousy job, or I didn't pay, you know, that's the way the government operates. That's not the way I operate.
No, absolutely, positively not. Have I had disagreements? Yes. But do I make sure they get paid and they're resolved? Yes. Have I ever just said, you know what?
I expected such a lousy job?
No.
I'm not going to pay you?
Never.
I'll pay you less?
Never,
in your history.
ever, one time.
Who won?
I think Hillary won. I think Donald, I think it was tie after the first quarter. The second quarter, Donald may have taken the lead. Probably went into halftime, Hillary a little bit up, but in the third quarter and fourth quarter, Hillary ran away with it.
Now we have a second debate coming up. There'll be a third. If you had to advise either candidate, what would you tell them?
I'd say to Donald, you have to maintain your composure. You have to own your, it was just so easy to set him up, because if you contradicted him, whether, you know, what he said about the war in Iraq, his bills, his taxes, he won't own the issues. The birther issue, he has to just own it and move forward.
How would he have owned it? What would he have done?
The birther issues. I was wrong. I was wrong. I should have conceded earlier that he was born in the United States, because it created too much of a diversion again from me making America great again. It was way too much energy. I was wrong. If he would ever just say the words, "I'm wrong," the perception of him would change dramatically. And you might say, okay, maybe he's presidential, but he can't do that. And because he can't do that, it's easy just to throw, you know, he just throws softball after softball back to Secretary Clinton, because you know he won't ever own his mistakes. And you talk about business. If you truly are going to be successful long-term in business, you have to own and learn from your mistakes. And I think there's ongoing evidence that Donald Trump is not.
So if you advised him for the next debate, it would be?
I would give him Bobby Knight's advice. Bobby Knight, and I love Bobby Knight, the general.
Yeah, did you guys bump into each other, Bobby Knight?
15 years ago, yeah, that was the last time I've seen him. But Bobby Knight, and I put this in my book, How to Win at the Sport of Business, he said, everybody's got the will to win, but it's only those with the will to prepare that do win. Donald Trump has not done the preparation.
But Bobby Knight says he comes from his gut, talking to me about Donald Trump,
right? And
she comes from a place of political expediency.
I mean, I would not say that. I would say Donald Trump comes from his gut, but at some point you have to add substance. And if you would combine those two together, that's what I wanted when I first supported him. That's what I expected when I first supported him. But you can't just go with gut forever. He's going to be.
That's when you left him.
Yes. At some point, you got to go beyond your gut.
That's such a diametric turn to go from that to.
Well, we're talking about the future of the world here. We're talking about the leader of the free world. I mean.
But you were willing to entertain Donald Trump, and you've gone back to conventionalism, right, with her? That's
one way to put it, but no, I wouldn't say I've gone back to conventionalism. I say we have two candidates, one who understands our place in the world, one who believes in American exceptionalism, one who's well-versed on the issues, one who's come up and originated policies on their own, one who speaks her mind, and then another who has to be told what not to say and do in order to seem presidential.
All right. If she becomes... Pretty good. if she wins the presidency and offered you a cabinet position.
No. I'm going to be very clear on 100% of things here. One, I've never given a penny to her or any other presidential candidate. I've never given a penny to a candidate since 1999. I do not want a position in government.
Treasury Secretary.
Nothing. I've never given a penny to the Clinton Foundation. I have no interest in giving a penny to the Clinton Foundation.
But you've made your riches. You had your success. You got the team. You got all that. This is an area where you could actually do some improvement.
You know what? I've invested in over 150 businesses. I've helped people. I've helped kids from 16 years old on up create jobs. I'm good at that. I think the world is changing for millennials now, where they believe in social entrepreneurship. And so not only do they want to create jobs, but they want to do good by it and help the world. And I think that's good. And that's changed capitalism a little bit. And I think I can be there to support them and help them grow. And look, I'll tell you about a conversation I had with Donald Trump. One time I talked to him on the phone before the CNBC debate, and I said, Donald, why don't you go and talk to some small businesses? That's what you're supposed to be good at. His words to me verbatim were, Mark Cuban and Donald Trump don't do that. We don't go sit at a dinner table with a bunch of people. We do big events. That's the difference, right? I want to be able to really help kids drive businesses. I want to, that's why I do Shark Tank, because unlike Donald Trump, I believe the American dream is alive and well.
It's just on the wrong network, right?
That could be true. We can work something out.
Oh, all right. Well, let's talk about that. Mark Cuban, thank you very, very much. Very good seeing you.
It's always, I love, you make it fair, you make it open. And
we tried it. We tried it. And he's a man of his word. He said he would do this show, and unlike a lot of people say, yeah, I'll do it. There he is.